We're giving them high carbohydrate diets, we're giving them treats all day long, and this is not how they evolved to live. They evolved to be hunters or scavengers, eating things that are not carbohydrates. But the pet food industry has done such a good job of marketing and lobbying that we just have been feeding our dogs and cats the wrong diet for their entire lives. Now, there are some foods that will cause cancer, and we'll be going through those in another video, so make sure you stay tuned for that one. But today, I'm just going to talk about the 8 warning signs of cancer that you should look out for. No one, lumps and bumps. Now, it's really important to feel your dog or cat every month, every week actually, and feel all over their body to see if there are any lumps and bumps. Most cancers start off as small little cells, and then they grow and grow and grow. And when you feel something that's unusual, take your pet to the vet right away. If it's a lump and it feels kind of like a hard little ball that doesn't move around, and it seems to be attached to the tissue underneath, it could be cancer. So you want to start feeling these lumps and bumps very early. Sometimes these cancerous cells may even be on the inside of the mouth. You may have to open up their mouth and look on their tongue. There could be small little white spots or pink spots that may be cancer. Okay, so no, 1, feel all over your pet's body. Make sure there are no lumps and bumps. The second sign would be a wound that won't heal. Now, if you notice that there's a wound on your pet that's just not healing, there's something going on there. It could be a cut, it could be a scrape, it could be anything that just doesn't seem to be getting better. Take them to the vet. It might be cancer. No. 3 is weight loss. Now, with cancer, the body just starts burning up. There's a lot of inflammation. The cells are dividing uncontrollably, growing and just causing havoc within the body. And so there's a lot of wasted protein and energy that's being used by the body, so the animal loses weight. This is one reason why I do not recommend feeding overweight pets to begin with, because if they do develop cancer, at least you'll know it. They'll lose weight. But if they were already at a healthy weight or maybe even underweight, it's going to be harder to detect because you whoa and see that as one of the symptoms. So if your pet is overweight, definitely take them on a low-carb diet. It's important to keep the carbs below 20 grams net carbs per day. If your pet is losing weight and you're not changing anything, definitely check that out with the vet. The next sign would be bad breath. You notice your dog has bad breath. Yes, they can have bad breath from eating something that's rotting, but it could also be a sign of cancer. So make sure you have their teeth checked. The gums behind the teeth, even on the back of the throat, there could be cancer. Some of these cancers spread to the lymph nodes, and you can feel it on the inside of the jawbone here on either side of the face. There could be a swelling of the lymph node because of cancer, so the vet can check that out. Also, if your pet develops bad breath out of nowhere, definitely get that checked out. No. 5 is changes in urination. So, changes in urination. Let's say you have a cat, for example, that suddenly starts urinating outside the litter box. There could be cancer in the urinary system, so make sure you get that checked out. If there's blood in the urine, get that checked out. Any kind of change in urination in either a cat or a dog should be investigated. Next is change in appetite. Pets, of course, are going to be eating less if they have cancer. They're not going to want to eat. There's something going on. There's a disturbance in the normal tissues of the body. The body's inflamed. They're just not going to have the appetite. And also, some cancers affect the digestive system. It could be in the stomach, it could be in the intestines. That alone can affect their ability to digest food and absorb nutrition, and then they just won't want to eat. So if you notice your pet has a loss of appetite, definitely get that checked out. Next is lethargy. If your pet is just laying around, doesn't want to play, seems to be tired, definitely get that checked out. A change in stool could indicate cancer, especially if there's blood in the stool or black tarry stool, like tarry substance in the stool. That's a sign of bleeding. There could be an ulcer. There could be cancer in the stomach or the intestines. It could also mean there's undigested food that's creating a gas. So there's something going on in the digestive system. And often, this is due to a lack of digestive enzymes. So make sure you give your pets digestive enzymes after each meal. I'll put a link down below of the digestive enzymes that I use for my dogs. My dogs absolutely love them. Come in a little powder and they dissolve in water. Just put it in their water or put it in their food. But definitely a change in stool, especially bloody stool. Get that checked out. And no, 8 is a general swelling of the body, especially in the abdomen. If you can feel something that feels like a fluid-filled sac, it could be cancer. It could also be a tumor, an enlarged organ, like maybe the liver is enlarged or the spleen is enlarged or there is some inflammation in the body. So if there's any kind of swelling, definitely get that checked out. And then there's sarcoma, which is cancer that affects the connective tissues like the bone or the muscle or the cartilage. With any of these types of cancer, the pet might also go off their food, vomit, have diarrhea, lose weight, and be lethargic. So it's really important to investigate any of these signs. Now, what can you do to prevent your pet from getting cancer? Well, no. 1. Feed them a species-appropriate diet. That means feed them something that's more like what they would eat if they were still in nature. Don't feed them carbohydrates. Don't feed them treats. Feed them meat. So if you have a dog, make sure you feed them a diet that's high in protein, fat, and fiber, and very, very low in carbohydrates. If you have a cat, make sure you feed them a diet that's high in protein and fat and very, very low in carbohydrates. Don't feed them carbohydrates. They cannot convert sugar into energy. They need to eat meat to get their energy. They're true carnivores. So if you're feeding your cat carbohydrates, you're just causing problems. And this is why most cats develop urinary issues. So please do not feed your cat carbohydrates. Okay, so make sure you get them on a species-appropriate diet. Also, make sure you give them antioxidants like vitamin C, vitamin E, and beta-carotene. These will help to protect the DNA of the cell from oxidation, which can turn into damage and mutations. And if you have a pet that's already developed cancer, you can still use these antioxidants to help slow the growth of cancer. Also, there are certain herbs that are anti-cancer that you can add to your pet's diet. Turmeric is a very powerful anti-cancer herb. Rosemary is a good one too. There's reishi mushroom, which is a very powerful anti-cancer remedy. And also, there's something called choline. Choline is a nutrient that can starve cancer cells. And so you can buy choline supplements for your pets. I'll put some links down below. If you have a cat that has urinary issues, you want to make sure you add choline to their diet. And if you have a dog or a cat that has cancer, it's important to give them fasting, and intermittent fasting can actually slow the growth of cancer. And if you combine that with a ketogenic diet, you can greatly slow the growth of cancer. There are many studies on that. So if you have a pet and you want to find out the truth about cancer, watch this next video where I go through the food that can cause cancer in your pet. Check it out.